I can produce 100 million pictures in an hour on my computer, and it's like not the same thing.
I'm Melanie Gurlis. I'm an art market writer for the Financial Times and for the Art newspaper, and I'm here delighted to talk about the impact of artificial intelligence, or AI, on art with a fantastic panel. And your report says that the collectors and enthusiasts, they value quite highly the human hand. We are also at a stage when conceptual art has existed for at least 100 years. I mean, is that really what we're saying about the machine learning and the input and the training could be seen similarly to conceptual art, this sort of machine and man, if you like, or woman, as creator? How is that defined? How do we know?
It does depend on how the models you've chosen to generate the work and how technical you are, perhaps. And that's where you can see the line or not. If you're playing with one of these big models that's just available, like Mid-Journey or something, then yeah, it's hard to see where your input is, because it's very sort of shallow.
Problem that Julie alluded to is that if you use a foundational model and type in, make me a Picasso painting of a cat.
And when you say foundational model, you mean these kind of big,
yeah,
available?
So most of the generative art that you'll see in 2024 are being produced by diffusion models, which are trained on enormous data sets, usually scraped from the internet, possibly with or without consent. What it means is you've got a black box that you can talk to in language, and it will try and produce an image that matches what you've said. It's very it's exciting as an artist to have this kind of tool, but it also makes me feel very guilty. Like, I've not done any work producing that image. All I've done is written some words in a box. So I think it actually exposes bigger problems with certainly digital art and more broadly kind of conceptual art. It's like, well, where's the artist in this? I think people are going to be craving human reality, and I think good AI artwork expresses something about the artist behind it, and you can still see it. And I think the part of the problem with AI models is it feels like you're not doing very much work.
No, there's an impact on the environment for just dropping something into ChatGPT. So it's about being responsible in how we use it.
I think art requires consideration and humanity, as you're saying at these points. Like these artworks are appealing to you because you can see the humanity in them.
I mean, I make a lot of work about the environment and the sort of, the more than human world, trying to give a voice to other things. But it's still, at the end of the day, about our relationship to nature, or our relationship to the way technology mediates nature. So there's always a sort of a human thread.
Can I just ask as a follow-up about the environmental impact? You mentioned when you put something into ChatGPT, it has an environmental impact. The artists taking that, is that a concern for artists?
There are a lot of artists who it became a problem for when they realised the extent of the environmental impact, because it wasn't obvious to begin with.
But certainly in the survey, I think it was 26% of collectors were concerned about the environmental impact of what they're buying.
But Bobby, didn't you find when you interviewed collectors for your report that they were quite concerned about this man-made versus machine?
I think they are concerned about it because it is brave new world, and it's not clear when you're seeing a work what the involvement, what the human versus machine involvement is. And because AI permeates so much of our lives, it's almost impossible that someone doesn't use AI to think about a work or, start preparing it in their mind. I mean, because everything we do now is touched by AI. And I think that's the difficulty. And people want those boundaries more clearly defined. And that's going to be very hard.
5 years ago, say, you could go to the internet and the things that you've seen were created by humans.
Right.
That's no longer true. And in fact, I would guarantee next year, most of the internet is going to be not created by humans. So if you want to use the internet as your source of culture for training your model, be it language models like GPT or visual models, they're already being poisoned by their own output.
There's so much fake news, there's so much fake video, there's so much stuff that you can't discern. And there are people that are just churning out fake news articles just to sway opinion and for propaganda purposes. So how do you differentiate, as a crawler that's just hoovering up, how do you differentiate between the real journalism and the fake journalism?
Also because people are getting more savvy about protecting what they put out there, so the better quality stuff is going to be harder to access for the trawlers. So
There's sort of some exploitation of a genuinely creative tool by people who aren't necessarily artists originally, but the reason they're doing it is because they just want to make some cash.
You wonder if AI, some of the noise around AI has been a little bit infected or affected, if you like, by the NFT, because words like generative and digital are also words that we use, but of course not all AI work is digital at all. It's more the process behind it.
But NFTs do cast a dark shadow
Yeah.
over it, and that's inevitable given that it was a sort of a boom and bust market that happened so quickly, and everyone, and I think that comes out in the report. That's why there's a nervousness about collecting AI
Yes.
generated artworks, if we actually know if we can define it. And I think what will happen is that it will evolve, and then the way that the artists define the works will help establish a more credible market.
People are not familiar with the idea of generative art being proper art yet. It still has novelty. And so therefore a robot that plotches paint around, oh wow, robots painting,
Yes.
it's amazing. And it's, for those of us who are a bit deeper in it, it's quite boring.
But would you say that what we're seeing, some of these high prices at auctions, you said you agree that it's a gimmick?
it's a gimmick, absolutely, yeah. I think Ada, the example, the Sotheby's sale, it's a robot, a humanoid robot. I think it's been around for a lot of years. She spoke to the House of Lords, I think. She's been in museums, got a lot of press, which obviously we know all those things really boost prices. And it's easier perhaps for people who don't know that much about AI to engage with a humanoid robot. But I think she's taken a lot of attention away from far more interesting projects by artists. I mean, she was built by scientists.
Is there a role for NFTs, for a non-fungible token, to be attached to an AI work that somehow gives copyright royalties, whatever it is, back? Is there actually a good role for NFTs?
I would say no. I'm not an NFT fan. It's just been a real speculator's market. I think it's been so widely abused. For me, it was just crypto with a lot of times just a really poor image attached to it. And there were genuine artists who wanted to use NFTs, but it's been completely destroyed by it becoming a crypto speculation market.
Are collectors and enthusiasts, I think you've segmented them in your report, are they thinking about investment? AI art as an investment? Is that of concern?
I think when you speak to any group of collectors, some of them will be doing it for investment or have an element of investment about it, and others will just be doing it because they want to collect it, because they love it. And it's the same in the physical art world. It is a population.
Yes,
that they both coexist.
Yes.
And so you can never say there will always be an element of people buying artwork, however it's produced, where people are doing it for an investment. And that's why we see artworks of every nature being flipped at certain points.
Would you ever say AI art is a great investment by now?
What's really brilliant about all of the media attention around AI, it's really good for digital artists as a whole. So for artists like us that have been working for decades in this field, it's kind of beginning to legitimise what we've been doing.
People now are quite downbeat maybe about the market for digital art, but I think it's good to see something emerge quite slowly. As with all art, a stable market needs time to grow.
And whether you're buying AI digital art or physical art, you can get lucky,
Yes.
but there's no way to rationally work out what's going to win and what's going to lose when you're buying art.
Can you ensure AI works?
For us to ensure a work, it has to be a physical work. So obviously, if you're just doing a digital work, then all the issues to do with it are really cyber issues. And there is a cyber insurance market out there, but that is what the risks are all cyber related. And so in my world, I am only insuring physical works.
I've been absolutely fascinated by not only how much AI captures imagination, but how much it divides opinion. And it's been fantastic. Many, many, many thanks, Julie, Eric, Bobby, Joe, for taking the time today. Thank you very, very much.